I'm Masia One, and you are listening to Do Not Clique.
We are at podcast number 10. I am your host Farah Anwar, and I am the world's most okayest podcaster for now. Not the worst, but striving to be the best. That's what I'm going for right now.
Not bad, not bad.
The world's most okayest podcaster. Okay, and sitting right beside me is Masia One.
What up, what up?
Your real name is Malaysia Lim.
Malaysian name, no. My real name is Masia. Have you ever seen the Urban Dictionary definition of me?
No.
That one's funny too.
So
it's kind of like the world's okayest podcaster. It says possibly the best female MC.
Possibly the best.
Possibly.
Possibly. Who said that?
I don't know who writes this stuff.
Oh man. And how did you make the name Masia One? I mean, Masia is from your real name, right?
Yeah, well, I moved to Canada at a young age, and a lot of people couldn't say my name, Masia. So I was really obsessed with this B-girl named Asia One at the time. And to me, she was a role model because I had never seen a female breakdance before.
Okay.
So everyone's like, you love Asia One so much, let's just call you Masia One.
Masia One, yeah.
And that's how I got it.
You lived in Vancouver?
First Vancouver, I grew up in Vancouver, and then I moved to Toronto.
So how old were you when you first started your rap career?
Well, I discovered rap music around the time right before I moved to Canada, so around 8 years old, 8.
Mm-hmm.
And I discovered it in Bedok Market, finding a Public Enemy cassette tape.
Bedok Market.
Yeah, shout out Bedok.
Public Enemy.
Yep.
Were they like during Triple Noise era, or was that like...
No, this is old school, homie. So this was like Fear of a Black Planet was the first cassette tape. I bought Bananarama and Fear of a Black Planet that day.
Okay.
And so I really love the pop sensibilities of Bananarama, but I love that this new thing I had discovered, this hip-hop music, sounded very urgent. Like the messages sounded very important. So from there, I moved to Canada. I tried breakdancing. I became a graffiti writer. And only when I went to university, I started rapping in public.
Well, all essence of hip-hop you wanted to embrace.
Yeah, all essence of hip-hop culture for sure.
Okay, but you breakdance as well, a little bit.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. Okay. What was it?
Can't front.
The 4 elements is rap,
DJing,
breakdance, and graffiti.
Breakdancing, graffiti. They say beatbox too, and Kiara S1 says the last element is knowledge of self.
You say Public Enemy was what made you embrace hip-hop. But before that, were you listening to anything like during that era, like Backstreet Boys or NSYNC?
No, I mean, like, I grew up in Canada, so I definitely was around a lot of mainstream music, but I always gravitated toward anything with a sense of urgency, anything that seemed like rebel music, I guess.
Okay.
I did definitely, let me see, pop music. I can't front. I like Crisscross. That's pretty pop,
Yeah.
And I mean, I probably closet NSYNC fan, but never really like went into pop that much.
All right. What is it like living in Canada compared to Singapore?
I mean, I don't know if I could say the weather because it gets pretty cold in the winters, especially on the East Coast in Toronto.
Okay.
But I think what's really great about Canada is that I was blessed with a really amazing education growing up. My education was not just like book smarts, but I got to have survival courses and get graded on that. So learn how to rappel down a mountain, learn how to build a snow cave. So I got to learn a lot of like life lessons and spend a lot of time outdoors as well.
For Singaporeans who grew up never even touched snow, right? I mean, aside from like Snow City, but that's like fake snow. But like for Singaporeans who never seen snow, a lot of my friends who visit snowy places, they say like a dream come true. But I mean, I can see the inconvenience that that snow brings along.
Well, I used to wake up for classes when I was living in Toronto, and there'd just be like you'd be buried in maybe snow up to your like waist level,
that's
and
horrible.
winds that feel like an icicle is beating you in your face. So for that reason, you're kind of like, I'm not gonna go to class today.
Okay. Oh, you're even holding the mic, right? Like you're a professional mic holder.
That's right. We're
MCing all the time.
MCs.
Okay, let's get back to your music. Do you remember your first song that you've ever written?
I definitely do. It was a song called Ubiquitous Journeys. And it was to a drum and bass beat. It was produced by someone named Yoroku Saki. And it was very, very abstract, but it's kind of predicted the future for me. It was just about how life can go anywhere. You have no prediction or rhyme or reason. It might go somewhere completely different from where you thought.
Okay. Speaking of writing music, I'm sure a lot of people would like to see your take on this. Do you get the beat down first, or do you write down the lyrics, or do you have the lyrics down in your head? There's not one right answer for this, but what's your take on that?
I think most often I get the beat from the producer, and it's the beat, and for me it's always like the bass line and the drum, the rhythm that inspires it. I mean, with it being reggae music or dancehall. So I think a piece of music, if I'm not producing the instrumental, it's a true collaboration. So I like to hear the rhythm, see how that makes me feel, write to it. Once that's done, I give a demo to the producer. The producer says, I was thinking more like this, but I liked how you did this over there. And then after giving that direction, then I'll go for it.
What's the main message of your music?
Okay, I would say, I don't know. I talk about a lot of things because, when you're reflecting your life in music, there's a lot of different things to talk about. But just generally speaking, I want to make music that makes people feel brave. So whether the song is about heartbreak or being scared on your first day at something or trying something new, for me, it's always important to have that vibe and that inspiration that the music makes people feel brave.
Speaking of brave, would you say that Warrior's Tongue is your most notable song?
I would say right now, with Warrior's Tongue being sampled for the Fast and Furious soundtrack, it definitely went really far.
Wow.
I was really cool. I was just sitting in Scape, I think. I was sitting there, and then I heard it playing overhead. And, I saw these kids around, and they're like, wow, I really love this song. But they don't realize that a Singaporean MC is behind it. So it definitely went really far. I got like over 64 remixes of Warrior's Tongue.
Wow.
It did really well both in hip hop, in reggae, and drum and bass. It got remixed to all different genres. But I think the other one that got really big for me initially when I started my career was called Split Second Time because of the video.
Yeah. Do you win Best Music Video for that?
No, only nominated. But it was pretty amazing because at the time I was a complete no-name and I was going up against all the label artists.
Who created that music video?
Director named Matt Burke, but I had created it because I'd seen an Asian artist get signed recently, and a lot of it was very cliche. Like anytime there was an Asian artist in North America, there were kung fu fighters or Japanese schoolgirls, and I just got so tired with these kind of stereotypes that I took every stereotype I could think of and put it together in a video.
Who are you currently signed with now?
I'm currently working on my new record, and we're shopping it. We're talking to a couple labels, which I don't think I'll say yet.
Okay.
But I've always been independent. I have a company based in Canada called Merdeka, which of course Merdeka meaning independence and freedom.
Yep.
So whenever we did projects and we licensed music, we did it by a project to project basis. So my advice to all these artists out there, yeah, sure, like it's nice to be signed, it's nice to have label support, but it's very important to own your masters and to own your own music. So when we do sign and license out music, we do it piece by piece, like single by single or project by project.
But surprisingly, you are not big in Singapore as compared to Malaysia or Canada.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think having grown up in Canada, I was still trying to dig for my roots because I only stayed here till I was a kid. So I could only imagine what it was like to be Singaporean. And growing up in Canada, I was often the only Asian kid in my class or the only Asian girl in the rap scene. Because I was always the only one, I was like, wow, imagine this beautiful world of Singapore and Southeast Asia where there's lots of me and there's lots of representation of other female Asian MCs. So I always wanted to represent myself because I was the only one and represent my roots because I know in music it's bigger than me. It's culture, So, you'll see some of my music videos. Return of the B-Girl, I'm wearing like a Pranakan baju kurung on top. And my first album, Mississauga, it's like a Louis Vuitton print with merlions across of it. And so I always threw back to my culture without actually knowing very much about it. And so for the first time, I just moved back here 3 years ago. And so for the first time, I'm actually discovering what it means to be Singaporean.
Do you think it makes you stand out a little bit more amongst the people in Canada or people in Malaysia because you are not really cultivating more of their culture but rather our culture?
I think that I'm definitely a reflection of many cultures mixed together. It really is like an immigrant story because you're coming from one place, you're raised by Singaporean parents, but every day I'm experiencing more Western culture. And then from there I worked in America, and from there I moved to Jamaica. So I'm definitely a hodgepodge of all these cultures, but I'm very proud of who I am, So I did face a lot of racism in the music industry, a lot of sexism for being Asian and female, but because of that,
all the roadblocks, it makes you much more
stronger
as a person to overcome all these roadblocks.
Yeah, and I always embrace the roadblocks as actually a positive thing. So every time I was faced with that, I would emphasize even more. Yeah, and so what? I was born in Singapore. Yes, I am Asian, I would emphasize it even more.
Let's talk a bit about that. Like any particular stories you have in mind where being a Singaporean actually sort of devalues you as an artist? You know what I'm talking about, girl.
I think it's interesting because I'm pretty new, right? Like I've been back for 3 years. I've definitely learned a lot in 3 years. But even right when I touched ground here, the first thing the newspaper did was like local rapper Masia One. And at first I was excited. I was like, whoa, I never knew I was a local rapper. I've been touring like 23 countries.
Yeah.
Just came back here, but then I was right away called local rapper Masia One. But I kind of soon felt that like on one hand, this effort to say local artists, local creatives, support local was meant to be a positive thing, was meant to like make people proud. But in fact, I think a lot of artists feel pigeonholed by this hashtag local. Because then your price tag might go down, or it's like, oh yeah, local, lousy lah. Like this kind of thing. The branding is totally different.
Yeah.
So I think it's important that we can say newly local, yes, but I think it's important to really dig deeper into the story of the artist. Like, where did they come from? Maybe their parents were from somewhere else. As for me, I grew up somewhere else, but somewhere in me always reminded me that I am Singaporean. So I remember one of the first times I started touring back in Singapore, this very, very large club, which will stay nameless because we classy like that.
Classy.
Booked me for a show, and I got my price tag that I had asked for. And someone had let them know that I was actually born in Singapore. And at that time, I was living in Canada. I had never really known very much about Singapore. Once they found out I was born in Singapore, I got a phone call. It's like, actually, our budget a bit different. We pay you in beer tickets, can or not?
As soon as they found out you were Singaporean.
Correct. And I was like, well, I've changed my flight back to Canada, and I definitely can't pay this changed flight fee in beer tickets. Like, but we give you a friend and give you a membership to our club. I was like, well, I don't live here, so it makes no difference. So it was one of those first realizations of like, why would this mentality be this way? And then it comes to an issue of self-confidence. And I want to say, like, since I've been back in Singapore, I've seen some of the most wonderful talents. I've seen like the freshest and hungriest spirits for music and creativity, because now it's growing. You see there is a push for it in Singapore now. I think it's very important that like we take note of these things and grow that self-confidence or bravery that, hey, I'm actually really proud and the quality is here, and we do have really talented people. Recently, I was sent to Australia to do Singapore Inside Out, which is an initiative of SG Muso and the Singapore Tourism Board. And that's like all these Singapore chefs, architects, artists, and musicians going to Australia to showcase our creative scene. So let's be more proud of being Singaporean and creative.
What do you think your life would have been like if you didn't travel to Canada, but you pursued your career right here in Singapore? What do you think you would have ended up?
Well, I love the name Do Not Clique for this podcast because I definitely find that in Asia there are very deep-seated cliques. They have had enough time to develop cliques. I think I would know more people. I've definitely felt a barrier when I first came back, where there's a suspicion like, who's this new rapper? She's not part of like kind of the cliques that we are used to coming up in the game and that kind of thing in the industry. But I think at the end of the day, talent sells itself, hard work sells itself, and at least a positive mind state will sell someone that's easy to work with, someone that's professional. So, I got over those obstacles, but I don't know. A lot of times my friends are like, if you live here, maybe you're an accountant now or a lawyer or something, So, but I definitely have this kind of feeling in my heart to always speak up for people that are the underdogs, to always express myself unapologetically. So one way or another, it's either a rapper or a lawyer. But I mean, I have an architecture degree, and most recently I just built and designed 2 stores in Jakarta.
Wow.
So for the first time I got to use my architecture degree, and in between designing the stores, I was rocking shows at night as an MC. So I think it's pretty amazing that I'm allowed to live this like dual and triple life of exploring different facets of creativity.
The fact that you travel overseas, I guess your mindset changed in a way that if you stayed in Singapore, you would have been in a bubble. I really feel that because the fact that you live abroad, you are more brave and more daring to pursue whatever you want. Whereas in Singapore, you are always enclosed. The society is always in that cage, where you are always trapped.
Well, I do find that there definitely is an emphasis on money and earning your keep and worrying about your future and where that will lead, which is important. It's good to be responsible. But I think that, I had a different understanding of the cost of living. When I lived in Jamaica, I lived in a shack. I worked with kids that had literally nothing to their name. No iPhones, no material goods. And when you're in that scenario, you only have your voice to sing or your body to dance. So those become like the greatest artists because all you have is the God-given tools that you have. So I think that I've been able to live the most simplest life. Or when I was signed to the label in LA, I was staying in the penthouse of the Wynn Hotel overlooking Las Vegas. So I've seen the most lavish life too. And having this experience to see the most material life and the least material life gave me a good perspective of like, one, what life could be, and two, not being scared of losing everything or having everything.
Oh my God, I'm so nervous sitting beside you. I don't know why.
Daijoubu.
That's Japanese, right?
Yeah.
What other language can you speak?
Some say Jamaican slang.
Jamaican slang.
I'm improving my Chinese. I've been touring in Taiwan a lot lately for the purpose of improving my Chinese too.
You're a linguist, I guess. You can speak more than a few languages, like linguist, right?
French and English too. I think what's amazing also about living in Southeast Asia is that the average Southeast Asian speaks way more languages than the average Canadian or American. Because you have to, like day to day, some like Malay slang, you know, some Tamil words,
you pick it up,
some Chinese.
You pick it up when you hang around with the right people, or the wrong people.
But I think that's amazing, like Hokkien. This is my next goal. Hokkien must be better.
Okay, let's talk about how we met.
Sure.
I guess,
I forgot.
You forgot? No, that's okay. You meet a lot of people. The essence of it is, I feel like you like to collaborate with a lot of people. You like to network. And at one point, looking for someone to video a piece of your music video or some sort, or you had
a performance.
And you seem to be working with everyone. And when I came to film your music video, you had a dance crew ready, and everyone. You have a huge network in Singapore, and you spare no expense to be friends with everyone. And you even asked me like, if there's like any graphic designers that I know of. I guess you are building a brand of yourself, and you want to work with as much local talent as possible.
You must remember that at the time I had just gotten to Singapore. So my enthusiasm, like I'm finally here to the place of my birth.
Let's show Singapore what you can do.
Yeah, let's show the world. And I have a world platform. I have an international platform. So let's show the world more Singaporean talent. Let's not call it like local, because to everyone else in the rest of the world, it's not local talent. It's like, wow, where's Singapore? Is that in China? No, it's not in China, where's Southeast Asia? Like there's so much misconception, or, oh, Singapore, isn't that where you can't chew gum? So like it's a really harsh place,
the place with all the rules.
Right. Yeah. So then let's educate and show like, sometimes this, but also sometimes that. We don't need to stereotype or pigeonhole things to anything. So I think my heart is really for community-based things. That's the networking I think you're talking about. Like, I love building something bigger than myself, And I think it's a bit of a conundrum as a rapper, because when you're a rapper, you're really saying like, me, look at me, I'm the baddest, I'm the wickedest rapper, no one can spit like me, I'm expensive, I floss all day, skirt, like that's kind of the image that sells. It took me 3 years here in Asia to recognize that that branding is so important. Marketing really, really sells things to Asian people. But at the same time, I know my heart is one of community. So how do I balance both the branding, so you get your foot in the door, so your music is listened to, with also bringing up the best and the most deserving talent along with you as you ride this wave to success?
At one point, I remember you asked me to meet you to pass you something, and you said, "Oh, I'm here taking a business course or something like a business."
I think that it's important to always stay learning. One of my favorite producers, Lee, in Japan, like he produces for G-Shock and all these big brands, but he will take at least 30 minutes every day to learn a new language. And he'll sit down with his app and learn that new language. And like the artists that consistently challenge themselves to learn something new, or not even the artists, the people that do that, it's exciting. Yeah, I think it's important to always be learning. And for me, business is such a part of doing your music now, like if you're going to do music business. So I think that I have to find the joy in creating art around a business, making the business an art itself.
For Singaporeans, local Singaporeans, the mainstream celebrities that you've met or worked with, do you have any notable names?
Worked with Dr. Dre, Pharell, Talib Kweli, John Frusciante of the Red Hot Chili Peppers. I've written for a lot of Bollywood stars. That's interesting.
Does it come to a point where you're just not starstruck anymore anytime you meet them?
I think that I live in a bit of a bubble where like I see anyone who's a creative kind of as a contemporary or someone that is just an opportunity to collaborate with, right? So I know that there's so much in today's world, this idea of celebrity. You have your Kim Kardashians and that kind of thing. And sometimes you're just like, what do they actually do? Oh, yeah, okay, they're a professional celebrity, you know?
Social influencer or
sure, a social
media
influencer.
I don't even know what that means.
But I'm a bit of an idealist where I want to know what made you a celebrity. What is the root, you know? So
what is your skill?
What is your skill? What is your passion? What is your love? And that really is like what people gravitate toward when they see celebrities or when they get behind a singer or something like that. It really is that moment where someone is dancing like nobody is watching, and you're like looking at this person with this deep intrigue, and you're like, they're just naturally so beautiful and so into it, and they're just naturally this person. And as soon as you tell that person, hey, do that thing that you do that we like, then they grow self-conscious of it, then they document it, then they're doing the selfies, and then the art changes, right? It's no longer that kind of raw purity that you first fell in love with. It's like telling a kid when they're growing up, like, sing that song that everyone likes, and you know, maybe they sang it at first naturally and it's like, oh, it's beautiful. But when you're like told, then they'll kind of act up a bit more, and you know, you have to put on a show. So I'm always interested in that raw moment where an artist is truly, truly singing from their heart, from their soul, and that honesty is what really captures people. Of course, the artist has a good team around them, a good marketing, good PR, good everything else, then that becomes a social influencer. But I really encourage Singapore and Asia at large to look at the term social influencer and say, yeah, it's wonderful to be a social influencer, but let's influence for something that means something.
So who's your favorite rapper of all time?
Ooh, of all time. You never ask a hip hop head this. Like,
Why?
I love all rap. Okay,
who's the one rapper now that your Spotify music? Are you even
yeah,
using
yeah,
Spotify?
yeah, for sure.
Okay,
who's killing it on my Spotify list?
Yeah.
Oh man. I mean, I love the West Coast, of course. I love E40, Dr. Dre, Snoop, all of that. But growing up, I loved Biggie. I loved Sean P.
Tupac.
I love Wu-Tang. I love Tupac. But nowadays, I think it's amazing the kind of talent that is coming up again. I'm getting excited about hip hop again. I love Anderson .Paak. I love like.
Are these new artists?
Yeah,
that's
for
emerging?
sure, and they're killing it. I mean, Anderson .Paak's coming to Laneway Festival in January, so I'm very excited for that. Kendrick Lamar.
Oh, and you're performing in Laneway as well, right?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, I mean, you're in the poster.
I'm very excited for
promotion.
Laneway because I'm really like, for a long time, people are kind of like, are you reggae or are you hip hop? You know, and this is what I kind of learned in my time living here in Singapore, that I had this whole portfolio behind me, right? Like worked with Pharell, all these Hollywood stars, blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
And I just assumed that I could come back here and really help the music industry or help young songwriters or, you know, like mentor some people. But really, I had not taken the time to put out that hip hop record for Singapore to say, yes, she is a rapper. Like, people need to see the evidence right in front of their eyes. So I just make the assumption like, yeah, you already know. And then when I met more and more people in this society, I felt that there already is an established hip hop scene, but people seem very stressed out. So I think for your heart and soul, they need more reggae, more Santai vibes, you know? Like, I wanted more chill vibes.
Slow down, people.
Yeah, but then I realized that kind of pigeonholed me as this reggae artist only. The only way I could work around the situation of being pigeonholed as this reggae artist was, okay, let me take a rap battle. So I won the rap battle, and everyone's like, oh shit, who's this chick that can rap? You know, and then so from there, now with working on the new album, I'm really emphasizing like really heavy lyrical styles, like to just set my foot down and say, yeah, I've been back to Singapore. It's been a learning experience up to this point, and now I'm setting my foundation and be like, this is who the F I am. The Empress is back, and I'm gonna drop some hip hop words on you guys. So when I do Laneway, I've kind of brought in my dream team of musicians to work with. These guys called the Juni Brothers out of Kuala Lumpur. Amazing live musicians, and they're gonna be performing the live set with me.
You mentioned rap battle. Can you freestyle?
I can definitely freestyle. I mean, I've been doing this for a long time. I used to train by just flipping through a magazine, and every word that I would fall on, I just like freestyle it.
I admire people who freestyle. Do you know Cuisine? a local rapper in Singapore.
Yeah. I've
Quizin.
seen some of
Yeah,
the rap battle
he's the one
videos.
guy which I feel who can freestyle very well.
I mean, he's not as active in the scene anymore, but this guy named Dan, Rapscallion was his rap name. And for me, at that time, he was the best freestyle MC here in Singapore. I can definitely freestyle, but I found that the battle scene was really quick to make you fans like, whoa, she totally dissed him. But it's very negative, right? Like, the things that get people is like putting down somebody and making people go, oh. So
what's that MTV show, Lip Sync Battle? Oh, no,
yeah,
no, no.
that's so good.
Oh, actually, no. Actually, there's a more focused rap battles MTV show. I think they pit celebrities against each other.
Yeah, I've seen that one.
Rap battles, yeah.
But I mean, like, okay, of course it's fun and it's a challenge, and hip hop does have elements of competition in it, just like Singaporeans love competition. But I think what people need to remember is like competition is there to make you up your game. It's not there for you to destroy somebody. So it's a good exercise in self-confidence. It's a good exercise of getting over your fear and just going for it. But you know, like, help one another and bring each other up. Like, I rap battled Tech 1. I won, but I ended up going into this DJ course where Tech 1 was teaching me how to DJ. So, you know, we really have to learn how to be in competition, but once the competition is over, we're still bringing each other up and we're still teaching one another.
I've actually seen rap battle freestyle where they are complimenting each other instead of dissing each other.
That's amazing.
Yeah, you have to YouTube it.
Yo, I gotta do that. That's amazing.
That's very funny.
That's
like,
amazing.
You should YouTube that complimentary.
Complimenting the rap battle.
In terms of your music, I guess you've explored a lot when it comes to songwriting. And when it comes to songwriting, you can, gravitate towards more to either the style of the lyrics or make it fit the rhythm of the song. Some rappers focus more on alliterations, wordplays or punchlines. Do you experiment different lyric styles for your different songs, or do you stick to one particular style?
I think what's tricky for me, and it's been a criticism of me before, is that I'm all over the place. Like, I love so many styles. But you also have to understand my background is I'm the product of many cultures, you know? So, of course, I love many styles and many things. You know, in Toronto, my roommates were all punk rockers while I was doing hip hop. And on the weekends, I play with a 10-piece Afrobeat band. So it's like I was a part of all these different styles. But I think mostly I'm inspired by the beat. So if the beat is like heavy, it's aggressive, then I want to go punchlines and I want to go battle styles, and I want to play with more the rhyme pattern. But if the beat is emotional and it evokes some kind of mood, then I want to tell my story or do a storytelling thing that is an honest reflection of how you're feeling. So I think it's led a lot for me by the beat.
Okay, as we wind down, straying away from music a little bit,
Sure.
I usually ask everyone in my podcast this: what's your favorite food? But then again, you've been to so many different places. What's your favorite food in Singapore? Let's talk about that first.
Chicken rice, done. I mean, you got to remember that I lived how many years abroad without being able to get like a proper legit chicken rice. So when I came back here, chicken rice all day.
Yeah, what's your favorite chicken rice place? What do you recommend the listeners
that's a
of
tough
Do Not
one.
Clique?
No, this one's danger because like Singaporeans know their stuff, right? So if you give them like something that's like 8:30,
whatever
like,
you
no
like,
lah, that one lousy.
Whatever you like doesn't have to be other people's preference.
This is almost harder than saying who's my favorite rapper. Oh, by the way, I should have shouted out Black Thought. Black Thought, The Roots is amazing.
Okay, shout out Black Thought.
I don't know, okay, easy one is because I'm living in the central area. Is that the Far East Plaza chicken rice is pretty boom. The one at Lucky Plaza in the back is pretty boom too.
I guess it's the chicken rather than the rice.
It's both. It's both.
Both makes the meal.
Yeah, it both makes the meal. It's even the chili. It's even the ratio of the sauce to the chicken to the rice.
Okay, what about your favorite non-Asian food?
Favorite non-Asian food? Jerk chicken. Jerk. I love Jamaican food. Jamaican food is amazing.
Beef jerky?
No. So jerking is like a mix of... It's called jerking.
Sorry.
Yeah, don't worry.
I'm so immature.
That's what she said.
I'm so immature.
But jerk chicken is a way of Jamaican cooking where they use pimento and a slew of spices, and it's a very smoky flavor. And I couldn't get it when I first moved to Singapore. So I ended up now getting a small plot of land, growing these spices. And in the new year, I'm launching the first Southeast Asian jerk sauce.
I was about to say that you should start a business right there. But you
Done.
were already on it.
I'm on it, baby.
You're like 10
Shiny
steps.
money, baby. I'm on the hustle.
You're 10 steps ahead of me.
If you check out the One Love Carnival in Singapore on YouTube, and we used to do these events called the Great Singapore Jerk Off. Ho ho ho. There was it was like big jerk chicken events that we used to throw here in Singapore to kind of introduce people to this Jamaican culture and Jamaican food.
I really hope there's halal versions of all this.
Oh, P.S. The jerk sauce that I'm developing is halal and developed in a halal bottling plant.
That's my girl. You know, I actually forgot to follow up.
Respect.
Initially, I asked you this question to segue to this particular story, where there was one time you performed on Earth Day on Singapore. I really can't remember which year.
Yep.
Coincidentally, Andrew Garfield was promoting his Spider-Man movie.
Yes.
At the event itself.
So random.
With Emma Stone, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was a great thing that you invited me to help film your performance.
Of course.
Because I was backstage and I got to see Andrew Garfield, and Spider-Man was one of my favorite comic characters. So
see what collaboration can do.
Yeah, but the point of the story was that I was backstage. For some reason, you were pissed off because I think it was like
the sound,
and then like or like there was a slot change or something like that. But you were furious that day. So
I can break down to you exactly what happened too. I feel it's very, the sound engineer for any show is very important, you know, and I think that there is like. In Singapore, I think there needs to be a greater respect for their so-called local talent, that in order to showcase your local talent, or any talent actually, in the best light possible, the production has to care about that artist's sound, has to care about that artist's stage, you know, like that they're taken care of. It's not that we only take care of the foreign artists and we don't take care of our own. And then people be like, yeah, local is lousy and the foreign artist is good.
That's true.
When, well, there's a change in quality with how you took care of the sound, how you took care of the lighting, how you took care of the production. So me having just come back to Singapore, I hadn't yet realized that I was seen as a local artist. So I was like, why would you disrespect any talent, not just myself, but disrespect any talent by not giving them the best possible, shine the best possible light for them to express their art. So I think this is something that's very important. And you know, I could be polite, I could be malu-malu kucing about it, but I think that if I don't speak up about it, then there's going to be another Singaporean artist that has to go through that. So I'm very adamant to let them know, like, no, it's not okay to put an artist out there and change the sound to something professional once someone else you feel more valuable to be there. So I think that's why I was
furious,
mad that day.
Main performance, right, of that night, that's very huge as well. But getting back to the story, because you were furious, I was like, Masia, there's Andrew Garfield over there. I was like, then you turned to me and said, who's Andrew Garfield? Who cares?
And you know, right now, I still don't know who Andrew Garfield is.
Yeah, he's but that was like one of the funniest moments, because back then it was a rarity that we have Hollywood people come by. So I was like, oh my god, Andrew Garfield. And
who cares?
Like, who cares? Andrew Garfield, I don't even know him.
But you know, that's amazing that you brought that up to me, because it really is a lesson I had to learn in the 3 years of being here. Because in the past, coming up in this creative scene, or not in Singapore's creative scene, but coming up in the music industry in North America, you know, like you meet celebrities all the time. Some are jerks, some are nice people. And I was never impressed with celebrity. I was always impressed by talent. And so when I came to Singapore, I didn't take care of so-called my branding, right? Like I will go to Kampong and sing, and I will also go to the most expensive hotel and sing. So I realize now
image is very important.
How much that image and that perception is in Asia. But because my heart is more interested in, hi, who got time for that? I want to write music, man. You know, like I'm not looking at that. It was very important for someone like me to build a team to take care of that for me, while I could still be true to myself, while I could still dance like nobody is looking, while I could just still write the raw lyrics from my heart. So I think that was a huge lesson. And right there you can see that I'm like, celebrity, who cares? Anyways, take care of the sound for your talent. Like I was more about the hands-on than I was about the celebrity. So that's cool, man. Thanks for telling me that story. It like reminded me.
What is it like performing live for you? You know, you've created your music for you to deliver it in front of people. Describe the feeling.
I think that all artists are a little bit mad, you know? Otherwise, you wouldn't throw your whole life into this unpredictable swirl of chaos, you know? And I think that being able to express yourself, perform, sing, that is really my therapy, you know? Like it really allows my heart and my soul to feel like at ease. And I think that the greatest kind of zen is when you're expressing yourself and the audience is giving back that energy, and they're relating to you and they feel it. And that collaboration of energy is boom. That's what makes the show. That's the best feeling.
Finally, what's your advice for up and coming, musicians in general who are trying to make it in Singapore, but with all the same roadblocks that you faced, they are facing as well? What's your advice to them?
I would say learn the business. That's important. Build a good team around you. That's important. And practice. You know, people think that when an athlete needs to get better, they're going to practice every day, right? Run, do your push-ups. But people that write music don't realize that your muscle memory is in your brain too. So writing a song. I knew this writer, Masia Ambrosia Floetry. She wrote one song to completion and recorded it every day, one a day. And doing that, anytime you bring her in as a songwriter now, she can write you a song just like that because it's muscle memory. So practice. You know, don't get so wrapped up in being that influencer, being that celebrity that you forget the one thing that you love the most, which
Hone your
was
craft.
music. So hone your craft, be good at it. Make sure you have something for people to write about. Otherwise, you know, why are we celebrating your million followers? We want to hear your voice. Yeah. And finally, I think it's important to be independent. So own your masters, own your work.
Thank you so much. You've really brought a lot to the table. I think young musicians in Singapore will find your stories and your advice useful.
I would say that, you know, maybe I'm unusual from a lot of people in this industry where I am very accessible. My heart is for helping community. So if you need to find me, Google Masia one way or another, that email or that message is probably going to get to me, direct Instagram message, whatever it is. And any questions of any creatives out there, I'm more than happy to lend my 15 plus years of experience in the music industry and lend my advice and my love and my positive vibes to what they love to do.
We have such great chemistry talking on the microphone.
Yo, respect and glad to be part of your learning process.
All right. Looking forward to your album coming out. 2018?
Spring 2018.
Spring 2018, which is in Singapore.
Yes, I'm going to launch it in Singapore too. Like, it'll be my first album.
No, I meant like spring is like which month?
Oh, sorry, man.
We don't have spring.
We're looking at end of March.
Just summer. We just summer from January to December.
It's always summer 2018.
It's just summer here.
From the end of March to April is my
April.
deadline for myself.
That's very soon. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Masia One.
Respect.